My name's Ryan Honeyman. I'm a sustainability consultant and co-founder of my business, Honeyman Sustainability Consulting. I'm writing the upcoming book, the B Corp Handbook. So hopefully if the content in this session doesn't make quite as much sense, this fall we'll have a book that'll show everything you need to know, how to become a B Corp, what is a B Corp, why you'd want to be a B Corp. So look for that this fall. So with me I have Donald Simon, who's a partner at Wendell Rosen. He's going to be talking about Benefit Corps, the legal foundation. I'll be talking mostly about the Certified B Corporation, which is a certification. Then we have Aseem Das, co-founder of Worldcentric, based up here in Petaluma. Right, Aseem? Just want to make sure I got that right. And Scott Leonard, co-founder of Indigenous Designs. So they're each going to talk. Don's going to talk a little about the legal, and we're going to have Aseem and Scott talk about their businesses and why the North Bay is awesome for B corporations. So I've got a brief PowerPoint here. I'll try to make this short so we can get straight to hearing from Aseem and Scott. So the idea with the B Corp movement is using business as a force for good. So the theory is that private enterprise represents 77% of GDP in the United States. It's kind of why we're all here, is how we use business, which has a lot of power, that can do things that government and nonprofits are somewhat limited in their ability to do. So the idea is, how do we harness business for good? And I like to show this cartoon before I go into my thing. It said, yes, the planet got destroyed, but for a beautiful moment in time, we created a lot of value for shareholders. So kind of shows some levity to what we're doing. So when J. Cohen Gilbert, who's one of the co-founders of B Labs, his idea was we can't change the outcomes of what business is trying to do unless we change the rules of the game. So right now, one of the things I like about the B Corp movement is it's not about judging business as being bad. It's more saying that business is operating within the rules and systems that were created for it. And so if we want to actually create different outcomes for business, we have to create different rules so that business can create the outcomes we want. So the two needs that Jay and his founders at B Lab identified were standards. So how do you tell between a good company and just good marketing? Not just at a company doing organic products or fair trade or a worker co-op, but how is the whole business? So it's really looking at going beyond just, is the building green or is it organic, but how do you treat the workers? Is your governance structure set up correctly? Do you have a good environmental impact? So standards for the whole company. And then a legal foundation that allows entrepreneurs to, when they form their business, to remove or to give them more freedom to pursue more than just profits. So when they found their business, which Don will go into in detail, they say that in addition to community, environment, and workers, in addition to profit, we also consider community, environment, and workers. So it really gives you that statement from the beginning that your business is more than just profits. So certified B Corps meet rigorous standards of social and environmental performance. So for many of you, how many people have heard about B Corps or are familiar with B Corps? Okay, 90%. That's why I like this conference. Just talking to people who know. I'll go into it. So NUMI T is a good example. So B Corps certify, and part of the benefit of becoming a B Corp is that it gives you a comprehensive framework to really know where you're at. So as a sustainability consultant, I originally started talking to businesses about green and sustainability generally, but I found that it's difficult to really talk to a CEO or business owner who doesn't understand sustainability to say, you should be more green, because to them it doesn't really mean much. And so what I found with the B Corp is that it gives you a free assessment that looks at governance, workers, community, and the environment. So it takes that CEO and gives them a framework to say, this isn't just about sustainability, this is about building a better business, and you can measure it in all these 4 categories. So like you see right here, there's a nutritional guide that essentially every certified B Corp can say, okay, on governance, we scored an 8, but the median score is a 10. Why aren't we scoring better? And you can go back into the assessment and identify ways you can be better. Similar for workers, community, environment, and Aseem and Scott will tell you guys more about that. So I'll leave that to the businesses to describe it. So again, you're taking the last 20 years, which has been about product and kind of fair trade or product certifications, and moving into how do you look at the whole company? Because consumers most of you here don't want a green product from a brown company. You want a sustainable product from a sustainable company. And so it's looking at how do we certify the whole business. For example, one of the benefits is this collective voice that B Corps get. So Scott, this is an ad that featured in Utne Reader alongside Ben & Jerry's, and who are some of the other people on that ad?
Method.
Method, right. And so it really, it creates collective voice for a movement. So a lot of B Corps, Patagonia and Ben & Jerry's and Method and Clean Canteen, a lot of these really brands that we already look up to, it gives you a kind of a collective voice to say, we're about business for better, and it creates something that the public can attach to, a B Corp logo. Again, here's some of the B Corps, Etsy, New Belgium Brewery, Dansko, Ben & Jerry's, Patagonia, EO Organic, Clean Canteen. For me, I certified my business just because of the other companies that were in it. I said, those are the companies I personally buy, and so for me it was, you didn't even have to convince me. I trust what Yvon Schoenard is doing with his time. And so that was a big value add for me. So some of the great parts about it is the community. So, you have this gentleman up here on the top left, Chris Mann, a lot of you guys know him. Scott Leonard, Adam Lowry is the CEO of Method. In the top right, you have Brian Welch, who's the publisher of Ogden, who does Mother Earth News and Utne Reader. Mandy Cabot's the CEO of Dansko, and then Danielle Cresswell in the bottom right is the Director of Sustainability at Clean Canteen.
I never realized how tall those guys are.
Yeah, they're very tall. And another part that makes this about more than just a product or the United States is it's a global movement. So now there's 1,000 B Corps. We just passed that this month across the world in 32 countries. So there's 108 in Canada, 97 in Latin America. There's a B Corp that came from Mongolia to one of the B Corp retreats. So it's creating these networks across the globe of people who have the same values as you, and it creates a community that we're all trying to make business for better. And I won't talk too much about the legal side because that's Don's domain, but I'll just say that I think there's 22 states. Did Connecticut just pass?
I'm not sure where they are.
Okay. Well, there's at least 20 states that have Benefit Corp legal frameworks, which Don will talk about, including Delaware, where over 60% of all corporations are incorporated. And again, that just creates a legal foundation for an entrepreneur to say, I'm going to start a business. Here's an off-the-rack legal framework. Instead of an LLC or an S Corp or a C Corp, I can just take this Benefit Corp off the rack and say, now I have the values that I want to grow my business. And so it just makes it easier for entrepreneurs who are mission aligned to create that legal foundation from the start. And again, Patagonia, one of Don's clients, he said the existing paradigm isn't working anymore. This is the future. And so Patagonia was the first registered benefit corporation in California. Here's just shameless self-promotion of my book coming out in October. Moving along. The B impact assessment. So if you took one thing away, this is my last slide before we go to Don's next. If you only did one thing, if you only took one thing away from this, check out bimpactassessment.net. It's the free tool that gives any company, you don't have to certify as a B Corp, but it's a free company that 15,000 companies are using to benchmark the social and environmental performance of your company. So in a way, if you take that assessment, it takes about 90 minutes, you finally have a roadmap, and it tells you what you're doing well, what you need to work on, and then it gives you policies and procedures and templates and tells you how to improve those. And so it's a great free resource for you. So why don't we have Don talk about...
Am I on? All right. So sorry, I gotta stand. My mouth runs better when I'm on my feet. So if I fall down, help a cripple out. Just had knee surgery a few weeks ago. But so my name's Donald Simon. I'm an attorney in Oakland at Winter Rose and Black and Dean. And I'm one of the lucky guys that as a kid, I knew my role in the world was to help figure out solutions to the environmental crisis. And so tree hugger that went to law school, then did traditional ways of dealing with that, but always focused on what's the strategic best way to get into the most of what we want. And invariably that leads you, and the reason why you're all sitting in these seats, to the recognition of the fact that we cannot solve these problems with government and nonprofits alone. We need to harness the power of business. So, as we started moving forward, there was green business certification programs, starting mostly in the Bay Area. Then B-Lab came along with the B Corp certification, and that's what Ryan was just talking about. And that's great because it is a good housekeeping seal of approval where a third party validates that you're doing these things that make your company more the type of business that we all want in the world, that we want to do business with. So you can more easily identify who you want to buy products and services from because they exemplify the values that you want to see brought to fruition in the world. But then we hit an impediment, and that was corporate law. Corporate law was written at a time when the only function of a corporation was to earn profit for the shareholders. So corporate law was written to codify that as the mandate that the people that run the company must pursue, and if they fail to do so, the shareholders can actually sue them to make sure that they are doing things that maximize profit for shareholders. If you're just a company with just you're the only owner, it's not really an issue because you're not going to sue yourself, so you can do pretty much what you want. But as we succeeded in building the green economy, what we found is that success has meant that companies need to raise money, they need to bring in capital so they can scale up operations and grow and have a more penetrative impact on the world. That's what we want, right? Well, to do that, you bring in investors, and in exchange for investors' money, you give them an ownership slice of your company. That means that those investors suddenly have the ability to enforce corporate law against you. So if your investors or some of your co-owners suddenly become less mission aligned with you and there's a difference of opinion, maybe they don't want you to be quite as sustainable and socially responsible as you, the founder, wanted, they could actually use corporate law to simmer you down. We didn't want to have that happen because the last thing we want is the success and growth of this movement to become a recipe for its disaster. So what we had to actually do was to change corporate law. And what we did was we created a new form of corporation that's called a benefit corporation. There's a lot of confusion. People confuse the benefit corporation with the B Corporation. They're similar but different. If you've ever been to Asia and bought something, they tell you, yes, same but different. That's what this is. A benefit corporation has a different legal structure and different rules of the road. And what it basically means is that as a benefit corporation, should you choose to accept this mission, you have a legal obligation in running your company to consider the company's impacts on the environment and society, both globally and locally. You have the freedom to prioritize any one of those considerations or profit maximization in any given issue as you see fit. That means you have the flexibility to do more of what you want to do without fear that some shareholder could say, you can't make that product so green because it has a negative effect on profits. It gives you the freedom to do as you see fit, so it gives you greater flexibility as an entrepreneur. What it also does is gives greater transparency because you have to not just do an annual report like most companies do, you do an annual benefit report where you talk about what the company did to advance its social and environmental mission. That's where you can use something like the B Impact Assessment rating system to be transparent and report that information out. Why did we require that? It's because that transparency is what will keep the companies honest. That transparency also gives investors that invest in the company because of its social and environmental mission an easy, cheap mechanism to get regular reporting to see if the company is living up to those values that drove them to invest in the first place. All of which taken together, we believe will help grow and build the green economy. And I gotta tell you that what are we, 3 years in? We've got hundreds of benefit corporations in the state of California. In fact, we've got several in this room. If you have or work for a benefit corporation, put your hands up. All right. All right. This is the new evolution of business. It's for small companies, it's for big companies, and for those of you entrepreneurs that are looking and hoping to build your business, this is a tool that enables you to lock in your core values into the governance of the company that will be enforceable by you even when you've given up majority control of your company. That is one of the most powerful elements of this that is the least understood. Patagonia came to me to restructure them as a benefit corporation, not because they needed to burnish their environmental cred. Everybody knows they have that credibility. But because the founders of the company are up in their years. They're in their 70s. They're leaving they're leaving the company to their children. But what happens should the company need to raise some money fast and the kids have to sell off some of the stock? That's happened to many big brands. And guess what? Their environmental and social responsibility mission has been eroded as a result. But through the benefit corporation structure, we were able to lock into their corporate governance these key priorities, such as they'll only use organic cotton, they'll have environmental credibility behind everything they do, things that they do to take care of their employees with education, with on-site care for children. Wow, that's all, folks. But the Key is, so long as one of those kids holds even one share of stock, they can enforce that stock. You can't do that in a regular corporation. So it's a huge tool for succession planning and help grow the green economy. And I'll be around if there's any other specific questions later. But on to the real stars of the show that can tell you why they've done all this stuff.
And just so I know, how many certified B Corps are there here? All right. So North Bay, we gotta bring that up a little bit. What do you guys think? We're gonna have Scott's video play real quick. He's got a 2-minute video about.
So this is just to kind of give you an idea of the type of company that we are. It's not necessarily exact on point for why we're a B Corp, but it kind of leads to our values, and we're very big on transparency. We've always wanted to be a catalyst for change within our industry. Which this is talking a little bit about the trace tool that we have as well. But it gives you an idea of the type of company that we are.
Awesome. Well done. So Scott, we know your company has social and environmental values, perhaps even before the certified B Corp was around. So maybe you could tell people why you originally became a certified B Corp.
More than anything, we've wanted to be a catalyst because we are a smaller brand, and we're here in the North Bay, Sebastopol, the fashion capital of North Bay. But this was a value. Even that choice was a value choice. Being part of the Go Local scene, helping to bring that to fruition, being part of our community. These were choices that we made as a business, and we've always wanted to be in the forefront of decision making that could affect larger businesses. So we've been involved in leading the way for companies even like Patagonia to be part of this movement. J. Cohen Gilbert pretty much had me at hello, and wherever he is. Jay, you complete me. He's and that entire B Corp team really gave us an opportunity to be in community. So even though we're here in Sebastopol in the North Bay, anytime there's a B Corp, we know that it's a friend because of the level of assessment that goes into it, the rigor. And also, it was an opportunity for us, nobody's perfect. We have one of the top, maybe 5 scores as a B Corp out of 1,000 B Corps. So, but we're still constantly improving. And the challenges we face, this community and globally, is very exponential. This was an opportunity for us to be a catalyst in that.
And so what business benefits have you seen? Is there increased market share, or have you seen any kind of employee engagement benefits?
Yeah, actually I want to add something too, because Donald, what you brought up was a major thing for Matt and I, and that is legacy planning. we're not planning on selling the company anytime soon, but we thought, we've been working at this for 20 years, if you can imagine. Fair trade and organic clothing for 20 years, the words were not emerging in the marketplace 20 years ago. They were just coming through Whole Foods and so forth. So we've been at it for a while. And we thought, well, if we do have a mindful liquidity event, and we do have investors, and we do have stakeholders that we need to report to, but if we ever have a mindful liquidity event, we want to know that the legacy of everything that we've forged and we've worked for continues on. So that was a huge part. And the mechanisms are in place so we can galvanize those values into our bylaws. By the way, this is our lawyer over here. So they do an amazing job at handling corporate affairs. As far as the benefit for, I would say that resources are big on the list. The campaign that you saw, pulling together collective voice, it was big for us, as far as the value. And I think I already brought up using that assessment to actually look at ways that you can improve the company is pretty big. For us, we want to find new ways to collaborate with B Corps, and we're continually doing this. I don't want to go through a laundry list, but again, when you meet a B Corp, there's an immediate value match. And so we're trying to consistently replace our vendors within our, if it's the paper that we're choosing, whoever it is, to the top corporations that are out there, because we feel like that's an opportunity for us to vote with our dollars.
And I did a poor job emceeing, so we're going to have them do a few Q&A, and then we'll have time for questions from the audience, so just to let you guys know. So third question, so what do you see as the future of B Corps in the North Bay? Is there any obstacles, opportunities?
Yeah, I mean, we have a few in the room, that's great, but we're planning to take over the North Bay. I really do believe that we have an opportunity to bring this assessment deeper into the political curriculum, and I think that we have an opportunity to work with, if it's the Leadership Institute or if it's Go Local, other organizations that are embedded into the business community that can actually start to have conversations around the criteria. And I think Donald brought up a really good point, is you don't have to be a certified B Corp to take the assessment. You can look at this, you can do it, it's for free, so why wouldn't you? So if we can start to speak that language and all be on the same page, it's going to, I think, help tremendously, and that's what I'm really looking forward to in the North Bay.
Great, so we're going to have Aseem talk briefly about Worldcentric, and then we're going to have some time after for Q&A. So, Aseem, do you want the slide advance?
Okay, that's good. How does this work?
Just press the right button.
Right button there? Okay. Good.
I'll just leave it on.
So our story is a little bit different in that we didn't start as a business. We started as a nonprofit. And so we were founded in 2004 as a nonprofit with the idea of raising awareness on social and environmental issues, global issues, and as well relating these issues to our personal consumption choices. We buy food, we buy shirts, as Scott was talking about, we buy clothes. So what are all these things, what kind of impact our choices are having on the planet? And so our mission was to kind of raise awareness and connect our choices to the impact we're having on the world. And we wanted to do this through a kind of a visual medium. And so we started by showing a lot of documentaries. There are a lot of great documentaries available. Over the years, from 2004 to about 2009, we showed about 150 to 200 documentaries in Palo Alto on a range of issues, from globalization, third world debt, poverty, human rights, ecology, media control, you name it. We showed it. And the idea behind these documentaries was that as people watch these documentaries, that there would be an awareness. You get more aware of what's happening in the world. and that awareness eventually, hopefully, will lead to behavior change. Because behavior change takes a long time to happen, and you have to kind of keep on getting at it before that awareness translates into you making the right decisions which have the right impact on the planet. So let me go back here. But the question was, how do you support the nonprofit? And that's kind of the perpetual dilemma most nonprofits face as to how to get the funding to continue the mission you have. And we didn't want to go the route of fundraising, which most nonprofits do. And we wanted to create an income stream which would support the mission, but the income stream needed to be a way in which would support our mission and values. It needed to be something which was good for the environment and good for the social impact we were creating on the environment. So we started to, at that time in 2004, 2005, compostables was just coming into the market. There were not many players in this space, and we use a lot of disposables in this country. I'll give you some numbers. We go through 60 billion utensils a year, 120 billion paper cups a year. So it's amazing the amount of disposables which are ending up in the landfill. So we started this promoting and selling compostable products, and now over the years we're one of the leading suppliers of these products. We have over 140 certified compostable products. A lot of them are made from agricultural waste, wheat straw and sugarcane, which would be discarded in landfill, and a lot of them, and most of them, all of them are plant-based. So they come with cornstarch, mostly, and then we are also one of the few companies which do FSC certified paper cups and things like that. So the business has grown over these years organically without really putting too much effort. And as the business grew from 2004 to 2009, internally we had a conflict. We were still a nonprofit, but a lot of energy was going into now supporting the business. So in 2009, we made a conscious decision to become a for-profit with the idea that as long as we didn't have investors, the investors wouldn't be able to tell us what to do, because we could still continue to do the good we wanted to do. And we were lucky in that we were bootstrapped the organization, so we don't have investors. So we became a B Corp in 2010, and we became a California Benefit Corporation in 2013. And to your point, and Scott's point, and Ryan's point, it basically codifies what we are actually about. So in the sense that if there are issues in the future where we might have investors or anything, we are codified our social values and what we're doing. And some of the things we do as an organization, we give at least 25% of our pre-tax profits to social and environmental organizations. We offset all our carbon emissions. And so some of the things we have carried forward from nonprofit into the for-profit as a company. Yeah? And the B Corp has been really excellent because of, as Ryan pointed out, of all the assessment. You can take the assessment and then number of things you thought we were doing really good, but there are things that you learn from the assessment which you are not doing. Maybe the benefits you have, the environmental practices you have. So all those things I think are very beneficial to take and to see what you can do to improve yourself as an organization.
Great. So I hope Gil Friend isn't listening, but why did you leave Palo Alto area and come up to the North Bay?
Well,
you told me 3 reasons, I think.
So I think here I think you can go back to the 4 reasons for moving to Palo Alto. So one of the things in Palo Alto is the building we were in was up for redevelopment, and Palo Alto is becoming a very expensive place to live. The rates for commercial are almost $5 to $6 a square foot. So, it's kind of becoming this really a second wave of high-tech funding which is coming in, and just a lot of startups there with a lot of money. We wanted to move somewhere with a high quality of life, where we would be able to do some manufacturing. We're seriously looking at manufacturing a lot of our parts domestically. And as well as being an environment which has kind of an ecosystem of like-minded companies, and Bay Area has a lot of these like-minded companies. Some of them may not be B Corps or benefit corporations at this point in time, but there are still a lot of companies which are on the same wavelength of trying to do good on the earth. So it's a great place to be. And we've been very well supported since we've been moved here 6 months ago.
Thanks for not moving to Texas.
We actually ironically left Palo Alto too.
Oh,
So yeah,
Really don't tell them.
Yeah, is Gil here? So
It's okay, they like to be the startup place. That means you can go for it.
So I actually grew up in Palo Alto, and our family kind of got boxed out in a lot of ways, but it was not the environment for us to raise the company, raise our children. So it was about 15 years ago we came up here, and we never looked back. It has been an extraordinary place to live.
So I think we have about 10 or 15 minutes for questions. I'm not sure if we have a microphone for out there or if we'll just use... Oh, we do have a microphone. So if anyone has questions for our panelists, looks like some people in the back there or up front.
About how long does it take to get registered or certified as a B Corp? From start to finish? Is it longer than a nonprofit? Is it
To get registered
more
as
elaborate?
as a
benefit corp.
Oh, benefit
Yeah.
corporation. It's super easy. So basically, if you incorporate as a regular corporation, what you have to do, do I really need it? Okay, that's a first. Used to be in the loud mouth. So if you're starting up a company from scratch, it's no different. I mean, all you have to do, technically, is add one additional sentence into your Articles of Incorporation, which is what you file with the Secretary of State to bring you into legal existence. That makes you a regular, plain old benefit corporation. If you want to go the next step to actually add into your corporate governance certain specific things the company must do, such as giving a certain range or percentage of its profits to charity, using certain product materials in your products, or anything else, you have total flexibility there, then you have to add those into that document as well. But it's just as easy to set up as a regular corporation. Just to give you an example, we charge the same flat rate to set up a benefit corporation as we do to set up a regular corporation. You do have to do different things, though, each year. So you have annual compliance that is a little bit more cumbersome than a regular corporation has, and that pertains to the transparency elements, which is that each year you have to assess the company's performance using something like the B Corp standard or any other that's comprehensive like that, and you have to produce an annual benefit report that you put on your website that just says, what did we do to actually advance these values? What stood in our way? It's pretty simple, but that's it. So it's not really much more cumbersome than being a regular corporation, and it's certainly just as easy to set up in the outset as a traditional corporation.
People in the front, and then we'll get the people in the back. It's a longer walk, but we'll get there.
I was just thinking it's a great concept for corporations, but wouldn't that be an awesome model also for any public officials, people representing you in politics, in your government, to kind of have the B in front of not just the R for Republican or D for Democrat, but basically approving what they've done in the past and also giving them guidelines for where they're going.
Yeah, it's funny. My friend said we should have a B impact assessment for relationships with a couple. Like, what's your impact? But Don, maybe you know more about the political side.
You know, the political side is interesting. I'm actually working now, as soon as I finished working on the benefit corporation legislation, I got a petition stuck in front of my face, and the next thing I knew I was on the board of directors of a group that's trying to address money in politics and provide greater transparency. You know, there's lots of different ways to improve politics. The number one thing to do is to get involved. It's amazing what a difference you can make, because most people don't lift a finger. They don't write a letter. If you make a phone, if there's something you care about that's in the legislature right now, be it state, federal, or local, if you make a phone call, you can't believe what an impact that has. Let me give you an example in this context. The benefit corporation bill. Sounds like a great idea. Why wouldn't we want to create this? It wasn't mandating anything for anyone. It was totally optional. Well, we had huge opposition. Guess from who? Well, came from the regular old lawyers. They didn't like it. So the State Bar Association and a lot of lawyers from some big mega firms, they came out vigorously against us. They said, nope, there should be a simple duty, which is to maximize profit, and all this other gobbledygook is for the birds.
You know how we overcame it? Because the B Corp community generated 260 letters to the state legislators. And guess what? That gets people to vote a certain way in these state committees from our legislature. People making phone calls, writing letters, lift a finger, show a little bit of interest, and your voice is disproportionate to the rest because most people don't.
I think there was a few hands in the back left.
Thanks. I'm Laura Goldman, and that Donald is our lawyer also, but that's okay.
That's okay.
I have a two-part thing. First is that many people don't understand the difference between a benefit corporation and a B corporation. Our business, SolarWorks, is both. One is a legal entity, and that's where a benefit corporation in the state of California. How many are there now? How many states do we have?
What is it,
22 states.
Okay. So it's a legal entity. The other thing, the B Corporation certification is rigorous, and every 2 years you have to get recertified. It's a certification to show that you're walking the talk, basically. Okay, that's the first part. My question that I'd like for you all to address is how can we strengthen local, not just North Bay, but Sonoma County, B corporations, benefit corporations, and people who have the same ethic, who are maybe not connected with either one. How do we build this network of people who are here for the benefit of our community and our planet? So I'd like to hear the presenters.
Yeah, what I was saying is that, you know, there's I think a few different ways that we can be involved with politics and also with the business community. You know, one of the things I was saying, like Leadership Institute is a great example of teaching our leaders how to be more environmentally sensitive in their policy making. So I recently joined the board, and it's a personal agenda of mine is to actually bring more of that environmental and human justice aspect because we do have a lot of inequities in this county. I mean, I think we're all pretty aware of that. That there's a lot, our Latino community, and specifically, is not necessarily being served the way it could be. Anyway, the other part of it is we can get businesses more involved through even Go Local, which I'm also on the board of. I'm serving my last term there. But it's something that I'm very aware of, and I want to bring in more businesses and using the criteria. Like if you look at Gears, that is a part of the B assessment. It's for impact investment. It's the B version of B Corp version for impact investment, and sort of figuring out how you're going to invest your money. And that's the same thing I think we can do. We can start to bring it in.
Yeah, and I will say we've had a North Bay B2B networking mixer. So every quarter we're having B Corp events in North Bay. And if you give me your business card, I can put you on that email list. But anyone can come, regardless of if you're B Corp or not, just if you're interested. And yeah, I think they're...
Well, can I just add one more thing to that? Look, one simple way to build this is to talk about it. Talk about it with people. And when you go to buy goods or services from somebody else, ask them. You know, what is, and it doesn't have to be just B Corporation or Benefit Corporation, what is, tell me about your environmental credibility. You know, what do you do? If you ask the question, eventually your business suppliers, your vendors will start to trickle that question up the chain of command in their companies, and change will happen. If you prioritize trying to hire people that actually have these values, whether they're a B Corp, whether they're a benefit corporation, or whether they've actually got a decent answer to the question you asked, that will start to spread and expand this. But it really comes down to voting with your dollars and expanding understanding by using your mouth to talk about these things. That's the way it always has worked in any type of social movement, and this is no different.
So we probably have time for 2 more questions, so yeah.
Yeah, we touched on this a little bit in the previous question and the answers to it. Sonoma County has the highest income inequality in California, and you know, folks in Roseland can't afford the clothes that you sell from Sebastopol, the way the Sebastopol families can. And so my question is, how do we get this to a place where people who don't have a lot of dollars to vote with can actually vote with their dollars? Because I don't see that people having a lot of choice in some of the parts of this county.
I'm not even sure if I'm qualified to answer that question, but it's a remarkably good one. I'm touched by, and I'm not even sure if touch is the right word, because I'm actually, I don't feel right living in Sebastopol when I go and I see how much access, and I think that's what we're talking about right here, is access to organic food. You go to the farmer's market, and it's primarily white people. It's an incredible experience, and it's empowering in one sense, but the same people that, I'll say that a larger majority of the people that are creating that product, that organic product, don't even have access to it. And they don't have a farmer's market in their community. So I'm actually working on that with a few individuals right now. I'm sorry that I don't have the answers, but it's a really good question. I think we all got to ask ourselves living in this county how we can make things more accessible to everybody.
Yeah. So we had last question.
Yeah, great. I learned with the County Economic Development Board. Welcome to Sonoma County. We're glad to have both your companies here. And throwing a lawyer, we'll take a lawyer every now and then too. So you mentioned like-minded companies and locating here. So I think some of you have shared all the reasons why you're here. We host a green business program. So if you aren't green certified here in Sonoma County, I would encourage you to stop by our table and pick up some information. We'd love to work with you to get the word out. I know there's a number of B Corps already in Sonoma County, traditional medicinals and others that have become green certified as well. So whatever we can do to work with you, we'd love to do that. I would encourage you to manufacture locally. I think Aseem mentioned they're trying to do that. It'd be great if Indigenous could do that here too. If you want to connect with the communities here, jobs are a great way to do it. So if you could make products locally, we would work with you and support you on that as well. And again, welcome to Sonoma County.
Thank you for that commitment. I'm going to hold you to it.
Well, thanks everyone, and these gentlemen will be available after if you want to ask them questions, but thanks a lot.